Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now. I'm Myra Ansari. So we are going live to Frankfort this morning at the state capitol. Secretary Michael Adams is going to be holding a press conference to announce the launch of a new initiative with businesses to raise awareness about human trafficking in Kentucky. This is a live look there at the podium there. We're waiting for things to get started. They gave us a few minutes of a warning, so it should be starting any minute soon. So we're going to be learning about this new initiative to combat human trafficking here in Kentucky. So just wait with me as just hopefully a few minutes they'll get started. Yes, I do.
Well, good morning. Thank all of you for being here. Today, I'm here to announce and to launch Kentucky Businesses Against Trafficking. Before I tell you about this new initiative, I want to thank those who are standing with me this morning, representatives of various industries that have agreed to be our initial partners in this initiative. We've got representatives from convenience stores, liquor stores, hospitality, transportation, and also human trafficking survivor resources and training. They've all agreed to be our initial partners in what I hope will be a much larger effort over time. As you all know, I'm the chief election official of Kentucky, and I think that you're as relieved as I am that we don't have elections this year in Kentucky. But I'm also Kentucky's chief business official, and I've been thinking a lot about what I can do in that capacity to improve the lives of Kentuckians. As you know well, this building generates a lot of noise. But it also does a lot of good things. And 2 years ago, the legislature came together across party lines unanimously, and Governor Beshear then signed the law, the Safe at Home Act that we proposed, which improved and expanded our address confidentiality program to protect survivors of domestic violence. It's a real success story. We've grown that program. We've kept more and more people safe. We've got about a 500% increase in participation, and we've expanded it even to help people take information off the internet that outs them to people who are stalking them. We've taken some 17,000 pieces of personally identifying information off the internet in this program. It's a success story. But of course, to be a survivor of domestic abuse, you have to escape it. And that begs the question of what can we do to help people escape? And so this initiative is going to help us raise awareness of this critical issue. Human trafficking is a big business. The U.S. State Department says that there are some 27 million people. Think about that. We have 4.5 million in Kentucky. 27 million people worldwide who are victims of human trafficking. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And unfortunately, it's one that we have here in Kentucky. Since 2007, there have been 2,500 victims of human trafficking identified. What we're doing today is simply raising awareness. And so this is real simple. We have packets we'll share with all of you, and We'll be sending these out to member businesses who go to our website, sos.ky.gov, and apply to join. We've got a few things in here. One is we've got informational material so that businesses can train their workers to spot signs of human trafficking. We also have items they can post so that the general public can see these things. And most importantly, victims can see these things. We can't do this by ourselves. We're a small office. And so I'm really grateful for the partnerships that we have and that we're going to build. Partnerships with organizations like the Department of Homeland Security, the Refuge for Women, and People Against the Trafficking of Humans, or PATH, Coalition of Kentucky. They're going to support us by offering free informational trainings, which again will help us and help all the public spot human trafficking and put an end to it. I'm grateful to our partners today, and I'd first like to introduce Seth Cutter, who is the Vice President of Public Affairs for CVG Airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. On behalf of our CEO at CVG, Candace McGraw, I want to thank Secretary Adams and your team for launching this initiative and inviting us to be part of it today. This is truly an effort that's to be applauded. As Secretary said, creating Kentucky businesses against trafficking, just raising awareness about this vital issue, right? It's so important to talk about these things, to give survivors and victims hope, and to show that we are working on it. Kentucky businesses obviously have and can play a big role in raising that awareness and being part of the solution to stop trafficking. The first step in that, Secretary, as you said, is to raise awareness, and these resources that you and your team are providing and reaching out to businesses are part of that solution. You know, the month of January is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So this is today is the perfect day and a great opportunity to launch this initiative so we can start reaching out more broadly to businesses, employers all across the Commonwealth to think about what they can do, what we can do to increase awareness and play an important role in ending this modern day form of slavery. At Kentucky's airports, for several years now, we've been promoting awareness of this issue through public signage across airport campuses, supported by our friends in the General Assembly and the Attorney General's office. And at CVG, we make some of those resources and trainings available, especially to our frontline employees, the folks who are out there every day interacting with the public so they know the signs. And that work has been supported by, as Secretary, you said, the Department of Homeland Security, their Blue Lightning initiative. But while airports and other transportation-related businesses are on the front lines of this issue, all businesses can play a role, and that's where this initiative really comes in. And we're grateful for Secretary Adams' leadership in this space. We encourage all businesses to consider getting involved in this effort, right? As Secretary said, visit sos.ky.gov. All the resources are there, and together we can really increase awareness, but also create a feedback loop so we can share best practices and success stories of how we can work together to raise awareness and stop human trafficking. So again, Secretary, thank you for your leadership on this very important issue, and we urge our state's business leaders to think about how they can do more and get involved. Thanks, sir.
Thanks a lot. But next, I'd like to introduce Deanna Lynn, who is the Executive Director of the Refuge for Women, to talk about this program.
We too want to thank everyone for coming out and having the conversation. We know it's a hard conversation. Thank you for inviting us to be a part of the training. We are so grateful. Education is something we're really passionate about, because if we don't know what we're looking for, how can we help? So often it's such a big issue that people don't know where to start, how to help, and they just get overwhelmed and we can't even talk about it. So we're here to help people, help train people in how it looks in Kentucky. There's a really high demand out here to purchase people for their own entertainment. And if the only training we have is that somebody is being snatched off the street or smuggled in a car, then we're really missing a huge percentage of what's going on out here. Most trafficking happens through somebody who's in your family or somebody who's familiar. So yes, we want to be discerning when it comes to strangers, but we also want to listen for conversations that are happening in people's relationships, in their homes, in their small groups, in schools and hospitals. We're so grateful for airports and for hospitals. Most people who are trafficked would not even recognize themselves as a trafficking victim. You're either born into it, it becomes your normal. If the only thing you know is abuse and trafficking, you just think everybody's living like that. So to be able to get the information out there so that she recognizes, that he recognizes what's actually happening using language that they can relate to is a huge part of it. So we're so thankful for all the businesses and people coming together to use their time and their talent to do something to help bring every single one of them home, because we cannot just stop at getting them out. We cannot just stop at awareness. We actually have to do something to help them have a flourishing life, because we are not just anti-trafficking, we are pro-human flourishing. So thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. And I just want to reiterate that to sign up for this program and to learn more about this program, go to our website, sos.ky.gov, and it's all right there for you. It'll be supplemented over time as we have more videos and flyers information, but we've already got started on it. And with that, we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Secretary, is there a number of businesses that are going to be part of this initial launch? This information is going to be asked?
Well, we do have several associations, for example, the Restaurant Association. And so we have an agreement at the top level, but we have our work cut out for us to go reach out to individual restaurants and get them all signed up. So we didn't build this out completely before we announced it. We decided to announce it, and that would help us build it.
And why restaurants? Why that section of businesses?
We're looking especially for any sort of business that has a public accommodation, if you will, right? What is a place where people go in and out of? There are all sorts of businesses, but hospitality, convenience stores, right? What are places where people might walk in to get a Coke or something and then see the sign, right? And then be able to signal to somebody. So those are in particular the businesses that we have in mind that would be the most useful for this.
Are you working with the Hotel Association on this?
We're just launching this, and so we have our work cut out for us, but yes, we'll be doing that.
Is there any sort of signage like this already out in the field? I know we talked about airports. Are there any places like salons or nail centers? Are they in those places too?
Not that I have seen. I do know every time I fly out of SDF somewhere, I go to the restroom and I see actually flyers posted there. So the Homeland Security Department has done a good job working with the airports. That's very helpful. But we want to really get in anywhere that we possibly can outside of those major venues as well.
Mr. Secretary, can you tell me more about where the data is coming from that tells you about the number of human trafficking victims we're having here in the state, and why it would be such, why would we grow it here?
So the global number comes from the U.S. State Department, which I think is a pretty reliable source. The source for in our Commonwealth is from the National Human Trafficking Hotline.
Can you tell me more about how, I've heard it mentioned about how, the Kentucky Derby and big events like that can be a big draw for human trafficking. Is there truth to that, you say?
Yeah, I think so. But I think this is going on under cover of all that we see. And it's not just the big events. It's not people coming in from other places. This is going on just under our noses. And it's going on in small towns. It's going on everywhere. And I think the best way for us to find this and to specifically find the victims and give them a way out is to go into those small town liquor stores, convenience stores, and motels and so forth. So I don't think the Derby is bringing this here. I think we have it.
How will you measure success of this program?
So I, of course, have no authority to prosecute cases, refer cases. All I have is a platform. And so we're going to use this, and the metric for us is how many businesses do we have that participate, how many packets do we issue, and maybe most important, how many informational trainings can we and our partners co-host? Because I think that's the best way. People are aware this exists. They see things in the news, but they don't know how to help. And that's maybe the biggest problem we have in society today is people feel bad about all sorts of problems they see, animal welfare, domestic abuse, you name it, and they feel so powerless. What do? We know it's happening, but how do we spot it, and what do we do about it? And that's what this is aimed at. Any questions for our guests?
I had a question for Mr. Cutter. What are some signs that people can look for in an airport that somebody may be being trafficked?
So that's a great question in terms of signs that someone may be a victim, and I would defer to our SMEs as well. But there's a reason, as Secretary noted, that you see signage in restrooms where there might be more privacy, where someone can see the actual National Human Trafficking Hotline. But things that our frontline workers are trained to look for are things like, is someone dressed out of the ordinary for where they might be traveling to? Does someone look or seem sheepish or subservient to someone else that they may be traveling with? And again, especially, Secretary, as you noted, major or large public venues like airports, it's a little bit easier with a heavy law enforcement presence, but especially some of these other businesses and frontline workers who may not know some of these signs. That's a lot of what is already available, again, at sos.ky.gov. Businesses can read, 5, 10 signs that they might be on the lookout for.
Anyone else?
I'd be interested to hear from some of our folks from the refuge about what they're also saying about what's leading to increases in human trafficking.
So a statistic that came out last year is that human trafficking has increased by 40%. But what that tells me is people are actually recognizing what to look for. So you talk about like motel associations and stuff like that. I was an 18-year-old girl. I had graduated high school early. I had a trafficker who stood outside with his gun. And I mean, I just remember hiding in the hotel and locking my door and him getting so mad because I just couldn't take it anymore. Every half an hour, people would knock on that door, and not one person at those hotels or motels ever called my room and said, "Hey, are you okay in there?" And so I just think it's so important to be able to know what's happening. It takes years to even be able to identify how you ended up in a situation like that. At the airport, I remember going to Montreal. I had gone to multiple different countries, and they had asked, what are you here for? And I said, or they said, what's your business? And I said, it's me. They're like, well, what are you selling? And I'm like, well, it's me. And like, didn't even think that was, I had no idea how abnormal of a statement that is. So to have this signage and to have, something that says like, hey, is somebody asking you to do this for this? Something as simple as that. And you're just like, oh, is that not normal? So I think it's just that we finally are having a conversation where we know like, hey, if your parent's asking you this, if your boyfriend's telling you to do this, if you love him, if a producer's coming up and offering a modeling job, like all of those things are helping people to recognize, oh, this is not legitimate. This is not how we're supposed to operate as humans.
Yeah, and I just want to say with sex and labor trafficking, there is no single victim that we can say is going to be labor trafficked or sex trafficked or both. And so if we can move away from, some of the ideas of how do we get the right numbers and how do we understand the dynamics of it and start getting down to this awareness piece, then we can get the education, then we can get the training, and then we can get the traffickers held accountable and the victims and survivors the services they need. So these kinds of initiatives, they do raise awareness, and you will know, okay, if someone's speaking for someone else, or if that person isn't making eye contact with me, I've read about this being a red flag. So you note that. And then the next time they come into the business, oh, they don't have this document to produce, but someone's speaking for them. Or in the medical fields, in the ER, starting, if you're going to give a urine sample, you can put a note saying, I'm not safe. These kinds of interventions are going to help victims know that they're being trafficked. And as was said earlier, we can begin to move forward in not just knowing it, but taking action. So,
Jamie, did you say spell your name correct?
yes, Jamie, Jaime, last name Thompson, Thompson, and I'm a Master's of Science in Social Work.
Yeah, my name is Gal Patel, and we associated AHOA. It's Asian American Hotel Associations. I'm the ambassador for Kentucky and Tennessee. We have 20,000 members in our association. So this is going to be good for hospitality to launch this program and educate the employees. And thank you, Secretary.
Thank you. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'll see you all on Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you.